Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, and I have finally decided to make a lighting tutorial for Blender. This is one of the most requested topics on Discord, so I decided to give as much information as I can on lighting and render engine. Therefore, the tutorial will be long, but it will also be very informative. I have also added chapters and sub chapters in the video description to organize the video and make it less boring. Okay, so let's start the tutorial. So friends, in chapter number 1, we are going to talk about importing 3D models, applying animations and fixing their shaders for high quality rendering in the render engine. Okay, so let's start the tutorial. So as you guys can see that I have opened Rival Sporting application, and this is a free application which you can download from Google. And if you don't know how to install it, I have already made a guide on it, and what it basically does is import the 3D models in one click. So right now I am thinking of making a high quality render of Iron Fist. So I will just click Iron Fist here and click on this export to Blender button, and it will take some time and bring that Iron Fist 3D model into Blender. So as you guys can see that our Iron Fist model has been imported into Blender, and it is looking very bad, and the reason it is looking bad is due to normals. Okay, so for fixing that, you can just select your 3D model and then go to this data properties and then go to geometry data and then click on this clear custom split normals data. As soon as you click on this, your Iron Fist 3D model will be completely fixed. Now if you want to see textures on it, you can just go to texture preview mode, and as soon as you click this texture preview mode, you can see that the Iron Fist 3D model has been imported completely with all textured perfectly fine. Okay, so you can see guys, this still looks pretty bad, and the reason this happens is because of the shaders. Right now it is using Fortnite porting shaders or Fortnite game shaders. We need to change it to some different shader, and shader is what actually controls the lighting thing on your 3D model. If you don't use good shader, your model will be looking very bad, and if you use good shader, your model will look very high quality. Okay, so if I select on this 3D model and go to shading mode and then go to this material settings, here you can see all the materials, and right now it's using different shader, and this shader does not gives good output on this 3D model. So we need to change this shader, and I have already made a guide on changing shader. I have also made a free shader which you can change, which you can use to make your model looks very realistic and very high quality. So you need to basically change the shader. So you can watch that tutorial, or if you want to continue with this shader, you can continue with this shader also. It will provide good lighting, but it will not be that great. Okay, so I will change this model to my shader. Here you guys can see that I have changed the default shader to MR shader from Warlord tutorials, and I have already made a guide on it. You can watch it, and if you don't understand the guide, you can go with the default shader. You don't need to actually change the shader, and I changed this shader because of the controls it provides. If you want to increase brightness on your 3D model, you can just increase this brightness slider, and you are not limited to 2. You can go beyond, you can go to any value you want. Suppose if you want a brightness of 10, you can just type 10 here. Okay, so you can see how much bright my model has become. Okay, for now 1.1 is fine, and you can see how much this shader provides the control. You can see I can decrease the roughness to make the model more shiny. I can increase it to make the model look realistic, and I can also increase the metallic value to make the metallic part looks more metallic. You can see how much metallic this iron thing is looking on his body. Okay, so this is what this shader provides, and this is the reason why I changed the default shader to my own custom shader. Okay, and if you don't want it, you can go with the default shader. Okay, so after changing the shader, now you need to disable this rim highlight effect. If you want to keep it, you can keep it. You can see it is looking very bad because it makes some part bright, but it makes the other portion darker. Okay, and you don't want this, so you need to disable it. And for disabling it, you need to just go to this material settings, and here go to this rim hero details, and here you can find this MR rim. You need to just disconnect to volume, change it from surface to volume. Okay, as soon as you do that, you can see all the highlight settings has been gone and the darker part has been fixed. Okay, if you again connect to surface, you can again enable this rim highlight thing. Okay, but I don't need, because I don't like this rim highlight effect. So I will just connect the surface to volume and it will be fixed. Now our model is completely ready for applying animation on this. Okay, so for applying animation, we need to just enable the bones and select all the bones, and then go to rival sporting And I have already made a animation applying tutorial on my channel. You can watch it if you don't understand it. Right now I will show you it again how to apply animation. So for applying animation, you just need to click on this file settings, and here you can find your model number. 1052 is my model number. So I need to go to there. Just click on this marvel and then click on this content, and then again click on this marvel and then go to character, and here you can find all the model numbers. Right now my model number is 1052, so I am going to 1052 and then click on the first one and then click on this animations folder, and here you can find all the animations. The animations that you are seeing here, some of them might work but some of them might not work, so decide what works for you and then apply those animations. Okay, for now I will go to this emotes and click on it, and here you can find all the emotes that are of this model. Okay, so I will apply the first emote, this lobby thing. So just click on this and then click on this export button and wait for some time. Okay, and once it has imported the animation, you can see he is in different pose, and you can place this animation to find your favorite pose. For now I think this pose will be fine, and I will render this iron fist model like this. You can disable the bones to see it clearly. You can see how much great this pose is, and if you apply the material also, you can see the facial expression is also fine. So we will try to render this and we will try to build lighting. Okay, so the chapter 1 is finally finished, and let's start with the chapter 2. So friends, in chapter 2, we will learn about engine settings, and this is really important because before making any kind of lighting, you need to optimize your engine for best quality lighting. Okay, so for now, we are going to talk about engine setting, and the best engine that you can use for lighting is cycles. Do not use EV. Earlier, I used EV because it has bloom feature, but now in Blender 4.3.2 or in latest Blender version, they have removed this bloom feature, so EV is completely useless. It's better to use cycles render engine. Okay, so for now go to this engine render settings and then change from EV to cycles. Okay, and by default the device is set to CPU, and you don't need CPU. Believe me guys, your Blender will crash. Okay, so change it from CPU to GPU compute, and if you don't see this GPU compute option, you can just go to this edit, go to preferences, and then go to this system settings, and here you can find CUDA or optics. Both are for NVIDIA GPUs. Okay, and if you have low end GPU, you can use CUDA. If you have high end GPU, you can use optics. Okay, for now I will use CUDA, and I don't know about AMD users, sorry. You can watch AMD tutorial on YouTube, and I know only about NVIDIA user. So you need to change it to either CUDA or either optics, and by default both of the option will be checked, but you don't need your CPU for rendering. If you have good CPU, you can use it for rendering also, but I don't have that much good CPU, so I will use only my GPU for rendering. So I will make sure that GPU is ticked and CPU is unticked. Once you have changed your GPU cycles render device, you can just click on this three dot and then click on save preferences, and then you can see this GPU compute option. And now we need to change this number of samples. Okay, so the viewport is what you are viewing in your scene, and this is for the final render. Okay, in sampling you can find this both settings in sampling. Okay, so in viewport you don't need this much high number of samples. You can preview it 50 to 100 samples. You don't need 1000 samples for previewing in viewport. This will make your PC very slow. So I recommend to use max samples to 100 or 50 according to your PC, and the less your noise threshold is, the more time your PC will take to render the image. Okay, so by default it is zero point 0.1, and I don't think you need this much less noise. You can go with more noise, so it's better to change it to 0 0.5 or 1, because this will ensure that your PC previews faster. Okay, the more less this setting will be, the more time it will take for your PC to render a single frame. Okay, so you need to make it a high, don't make it too much high, otherwise your screen will be completely noisy. You need to find a good balance, that what work for your PC and what is better to your eyes. Okay, so 0.5 work fine for me, and samples I keep it to 100. You can turn on denoise if you have good CPU in viewport, but I don't have that much good CPU and I am recording also, so I will turn off this denoise in viewport, and I will turn on this denoise in rendering, because you need to have no noise in final render. Okay, so final render setting, you can keep the noise threshold to 0.01, because you want minimum noise in your scene, and you can keep the maximum samples to around, I think, 200 or 100. It depends on you, so I will keep it up to 150. 150 were fine. You also don't need too much high samples in render settings also. You don't need that much high sample. By default it is 4000, and we are not rendering something really for Hollywood level type thing. We are rendering for thumbnails and for some personal projects. So I think 150 to 300 will be work fine. So I will keep it 150, and I will turn on this denoise in render settings, and I will also click on this use GPU because I don't want denoising to be done by my CPU because it will make my PC laggy. I want to use GPU for denoising also as well as rendering also. So this will make my PC stable. Okay. Once you have decided this sampling settings, you can go to this light paths, and you can see there are a lot of settings here, and if you click on this three dot you get a lot of preset. By default I click on this default setting. I don't change any preset here, and make this total to approximately 3. Okay. You don't need 12 bounces, you need 3 bounces only. That will work for you. Okay. Once you have fixed your light paths, you can go to this sampling settings and then click on this lights and make sure this light ray is disabled. I forgot it to tell earlier, but you need to make it disabled. Okay. Once you have done all this, you can now go to this performance, and then make sure on final render this persistent data is checked. This will store the data in your RAM, and if you re-render the scene, it will not render the whole scene but only that part that you have changed in your scene. Okay. So this is really important setting. And now in rest all other settings you can leave it as it is, and if you want you can change this color management settings. By default it is on AGX, and I personally use either Filmic or AGX. Filmic basically fixes this skin tone. You can see now the skin is looking very fine, and AGX is good if you have a lot of light in your scene and they are really bright. This fixes the overexposing of lights. Okay. So I either use AGX or either use Filmic. You can also change this look. Here you can change the contrast of your scene. You can see right now my scene has very little contrast in it. So if you want to change contrast, you can change according to this preset. Suppose if you want a really high contrast scene, you can just click on this high contrast. You can see now the contrast of my scene has been added. So basically in starting phase I change this setting to default. I don't touch the settings, and once I have made the lighting, then I will start tweaking the settings, exposure and gamma according to my scene and what I like it, what it's good for my thumbnail. Okay. So this is the basic engine settings of cycles. Once you have applied these settings, now you are ready to make your lighting. So this is the finished part of chapter 2. Now we will start with chapter 3. So friends, in chapter number 3, I am going to tell you how to make a very simple lighting with just one click, and I will also tell you a very easy method to move your camera around in your scene. So let's start the chapter 3. So now I am going to split my viewport into two parts so that I can make lighting very easily. Okay. So for splitting your viewport, you can hover to the top of your 3D viewport and your mouse will change into a cursor. Once this has been done, just click and drag your scene to split your viewport. Okay. So you can see my viewport has been split into two parts. This is the part in which I will preview my lighting, and this is the part in which I will make my lighting. Okay. So friends, now we need to add a 3D camera in our scene. So for adding a camera, you just need to press Shift plus A on your keyboard, and here you can find camera option, and here there is camera available. Just click on it and you can see the camera has been appeared. You can change the resolution of camera from this setting, output settings. For now it is using 1920 by 1080, and I don't like to use this resolution. Instead I use 2000 by 2000. This makes my camera into square. Okay. And once you have changed your resolution, you can see the camera size has been changed, and when you press 0 button you can see what is actually happening in your camera. And in the first viewport we will try to adjust our camera. Okay. So we will use this gizmo to move our camera around. So you can see now I have positioned my camera, but this method of positioning is really bad, and it requires a lot of time to position your camera. You can see it is really difficult, and I have to move a lot to position my camera in correct way. Okay. But there is an easy way to use to position your camera, and for enabling that, here you just need to click on this view setting and then go to this navigation, and here you can see there is a walk navigation. Just right click on it and you will find a different option. Okay. Once you have right click on it, you can assign a simple shortcut. So just click on it and then press Shift plus F. I assigned Shift plus F as a shortcut. You can assign any button you want, but for me Shift plus F work fine. Okay. Once you have assigned the shortcut, you can just go to camera view by pressing num 0 button. Right now I am out of camera view, and when I press 0 button, you can see now I am in the camera view. And once you press shift plus F button, okay, you can see the crosshair has been turned into something black, and now I can move the camera as I want. If you have played any 3D video game, you know the drone view. Now I can view my camera as I want. Okay, so you can see how it is easy. I am using WSD key to position my camera. Once you decide a good position, for me this position is work fine. You can see how much easily I have positioned my camera. You can see now it look perfect. Once you have decided your position, you just press left click to come out from this walk navigation. So once I press left click, I come out from my walk navigation. Okay, now I can't move my camera. Now I can zoom in and zoom out the scene. There is no need to use this walk navigation in camera only. You can use this walk navigation in viewport also. If I come out of camera and press shift plus F, you can see I am moving my I am moving in viewport with the help of WSD button, and my camera is still there, and I can move a press shift button to move faster. Okay, you can see how much fast I am moving. If you have used a drone view in any video game, you can understand this, and it is very easy to move the camera and position in viewport by this way. Okay, so you can see how much amazing it is. So once you have finally decided the position, you can just left click to come out from this walk navigation. Once you have applied your pose and position your camera in proper location, now you can start to add light. Okay, for now I am telling you a very basic and quick light which you can make in a click. So for making that light, you just need to go to this shading tab, and here from change this from object to world, you can see there is a different node, and here press shift plus A and search sky texture. Okay, once you search sky texture, you can see the option is available here. Just bring it to your 3D scene and then add color to this color, and make this option, this sky texture, only work with cycles engine. So I have already told you the settings of cycle engines, so you can just watch the previous part, and you can apply these cycle settings. Okay, once you have attached the sky texture, you can just go to this layout tab, and here you can turn on this render preview mode. Okay, once I click this and wait for some time, you can see this lighting looks perfect. You can see how much amazing this looks. The lighting has already been there with a sky and a good background on it. Okay, and suppose if you want to make this thing transparent, you can just go to render setting and then click on this fill and then click on this transparent. Now you can see how much amazing this lighting looks. Okay, and you can basically go to this world settings, and here if you are go to this surface and then click on this color settings, and here you can adjust the lighting to your liking. Okay, suppose I want to change the rotation, I want the light to come from front, I can change this sun rotation. Okay, right now it is on 0 degree. I can change this rotation to actually light it from front. Okay, and you can see the intensity of the sun is very high, so I can change this intensity from here. You can see right now the sun intensity is 1, and I can change it something to 0.2. This might fix light. If it is still not fixed, you can go from 0.05, and you can proceed to below 0.01. Okay, so this looks fine. And if you seen lacks contrast, you can just go to this color management and then click on this high contrast. You can see now the lighting looks amazing. This is the very simple lighting. It has not been customized to our liking. Okay, but you can see how much amazing result this produces. Okay, you can increase the sun size for softness, adding softness in your scene. You can see now the lighting has become soft. It is not that harsh, and you can see how much good this looks. You can see the reflections are working fine. You can see every detail on it. You can see these things. You can see the hair also, it is looking amazing. You can see the face. So this is one of the easiest lighting that you can make, and you can directly just render this, and you can use in your thumbnail, and it will look fine. Okay, so you can see how amazing this lighting is. So this is one of the basic lighting, and now I am going to tell you a one point light which you can set up, and this will be the chapter 4 of our video. Chapter 3 is now finished, and you can see it has been lightened. So friends, in chapter 4, we will learn about one point lighting, and for it to work, we don't need to use any world lighting. So you can just make it strength to 0. Okay, so you can see once I type the 0 in strength, you can see all the lighting has been disabled. Okay, now I need to add our own custom lighting, and for doing that, you just need to go to this first viewport and press shift plus A, and here in lights, you can find all different types of lighting. Okay, so for one point lighting, I use area light. So click on this area light and then position it in a way that it comes in front of your character, and you can use this yellow thing to actually align the arrow with your character. Okay, so right now you can see my arrow has been completely aligned. Once you have done this alignment, now you can try to play with its strength. Okay, so once I click on this light thing, I can actually control the light intensity under thing. And for you this option might not be available, stop adjustment. You, for you this power thing will be available, so you can play with power. So right now it is on 10 watts. I will make it approx 200, and you can see it is very bright, so I take it to 50, and then I will increase the size to make the light softer. You can see now this is the one point lighting setup. Just add a light in front of your character, and you can see it will look really fine. And for making it soft, you can increase the size of this light. Okay, this is a very soft light, and you can see how amazing my character looks. This looks really amazing. And if you think the skin color is too white, you can change the color arrangement from AGX to filmic. This might fix the skin color. You can see now the skin is looking a bit yellow. Okay, so and if you think the scene still lacks contrast, you can change it from high contrast to very high contrast, and now your lighting will be fine. And suppose if you don't want any contrast in your scene, you can just click on this none button. And by default, if you are rendering, I recommend you to click on this none button, and you can add contrast in post processing. Okay, you can see right now this one point setup always looks amazing. And in my most of the thumbnails, I basically render light like this. Okay, so this is one point lighting. And now this is the end of chapter 4, and now I will tell you a 3 point lighting, which has some theory in it, but it gives a really good result. Okay, so let's start with the chapter 5. So friends, in chapter 5, we will learn about 3 point lighting, and 3 point lighting means combining 3 point to make your character more realistic. Okay, so I will tell you how to do that. And for right now, I will delete this default lighting, 1 point lighting. I will just press delete button so that everything becomes dark, and you can see now the scene has no lights. And for now, we will add 3 lights, and what it does is basically adds more depth to your character if the light is coming from 3 point. Okay, so 3 point has a theory. First you need to add a rim light, then you need to add a fill light, and then you need to add a main light. Okay, and if you don't understand this terminology, you can search it on Google, but I will tell you what every light does. Okay, so first I will tell you what rim light does, and I will make a rim light. Okay, so for making a rim light, you can just press shift plus a button and go to click on this light, and then here you can find all different types of lighting. And for this rim light also, I will use this area light, and I will position it in such a way that it goes behind the character. You can see it is going behind the character. Okay, and if you find problem in positioning like this, you can press numpad 7 or press 1 or numpad 3 to actually change the view from top, horizontal and left. Okay, so I will use this settings to actually align my light. So 7 basically turn on the top view, 1 basically turns on the front view, and 3 turns on the left side view. Okay, so once you have aligned your light, make sure it is aligned properly, and you need to align in such a way that there is a small highlight on this part of the section. Okay, it is not necessary to be this part. You can apply this highlight thing on this part also, but right now I want my highlight thing on this part that starts from his head and highlight his hand. Okay, so I will position this light in such a way. Okay, and you can actually use this thing to uh, basically add more highlight. You can see now the highlight thing is actually happening, and now I will increase it this lighting strength to actually highlight it more. You can see here there is a soft highlight coming from it. This is what rim light does. It's basically highlight some points of your character. Okay, so just increase the strength to highlight it more. Okay, and this is too much I think, and I will make it a little big so that highlight effects goes around more. And you can see now the back part of this thing is highlighting, and this is what rim light does. And once you have made the rim light, you just disable the rim light. Okay, you can see this is the area light, and disable it to remove rim light completely, and we will enable it in future. Right now we need to add a fill light. Okay, it basically adds light in your scene, and for adding fill light you can use sunlight or any HDRI. So for now I will use sunlight. Press shift plus a, click on this light, and then click on this sunlight. Okay, and for sunlight position doesn't matter. You can position this light anywhere and lighting will not change. and the thing that actually changes in sunlight is the rotation. It is actually this yellow thing. You can change this according to your scene, okay, and this basically adds fill light to your scene, okay. So right now I want this fill light to come from here. Let me bring it in center so you will understand better. I want my light to come from this side, okay, this side, bounce from this side. So I will make it come here, sorry, make it go there. So you can see right now this fill light is coming from this side, okay, and this side is still black, okay. And if you can't understand this, you can see this is how treating it. So once you have decided your fill light, you can increase its intensity from this, and I recommend you to keep it a bit low. Fill light doesn't need to be that harsh, and you can make it soft. I don't need to be like 1.5 words for me. And for making it soft, you can use this angle button to make this soft. You can see now there are very less shadows compared to the earlier one. This you can see this, the shadows are more intensified when I basically decrease the angle. You can see the shadows are more harsh, but you need to make this fill light really soft. So I will go around 60-degree, okay. Once you have decided your fill light, now you need to add a main light on your scene, okay. You can just disable this sunlight. Now add a main light. Just click on this light button and add a area light, and we will position it to the left side of the camera, okay. Let me position it to the left side of the camera, and this light will be also very soft, but intensity of this light will be really great, okay, really harsh. This light will be very, the power of this light will be very high, okay. So you can see I have positioned this light, and now I will increase its strength to a lot, not that much, and I will increase its size, okay. Yeah, this much works fine, and this much works fine, okay. Once you have made every three light, you can just enable all three at once. Enable this one, enable this one, and enable this one. You can see this one is the 3 point lighting with a good highlight, and you can further change everything. If you think highlight is very low, you can increase the highlight also to your custom liking. So you can see right now the highlight is looking fine, and position it according to yourself. If you think fill light is too harsh, you can see this one should be dark. You can change the intensity to, I think, one should be working fine, and I will also change the angle to make it a bit harsh. You can see now how much detailed this lighting looks, you can see. And this is the lighting you can see in many thumbnails. This I will show you an example also of this lighting, okay. And let me show you an example of this type of lighting, guys. And once I was browsing through Behance, I found this guy. I don't know what is his name. I think it's Marvel Kalbi Rana, and he made a lighting like this. You can see how much amazing this lighting looks. He has basically, I think, added a light in front and then added a highlight effect also, and there is a soft light coming from this thing, okay. And he has applied a camera raw filter on this 3D model to make it more bright and more saturated, okay. So we will do the post processing in future, and I will make a video on camera raw filter in future. Right now I'm trying to replicate this light. Right now there is a very subtle highlight effect due to this light, and we can position it in such a way so that this highlight effect intensifies, okay. And we can also increase its strength to make it more highlight, okay. So I basically add highlights by using this additional light. This is called the rim light, and this is basically what designs shape of your 3D character. You can see this is what it is doing, okay. And the other two lights are basically adding more fill light on your scene, okay. And suppose if you want to change color of this highlight, you can change the color of this highlight to make scene look more dynamic, like make it to blue or something red. It's according to your background. Right now white seems fine, but you can change this according to your background, okay. So this is one of the best lighting you can learn, and try to experiment with it. You can just add one more of this fill light thing to this side, which actually adds highlight thing on this part also. And it's more like experimenting thing. Once you understand the idea of these three lights, try to experiment as much as you want, and you can get better lighting with this, okay. So this is the chapter 4 of lighting, sorry, chapter 5 of lighting. And now I will tell you how to render and all about rendering information that you need to know, okay. So let's start with chapter 6 about rendering and saving your image. So friends, in chapter 6, we will learn about rendering and saving this image. And once you have completed your lighting, you can start rendering this, okay. So for rendering, I recommend you to render in very high quality. You can see I am rendering in 2000 by 2000. You can increase this by to 3000 by 3000 pixel also. 3000 by 3000. The more this thing will be increased, the more detailed and the more sharpened your image will be. But believe me, the more render time it will take. Okay, so 2000 by 2000 will work in every PC, but you can try to increase to 3K or 4K as per as your PC and requirement. Okay, and in render settings, and I have already told you the render settings, you can go to this render, and here you can control the samples. The more number of samples, the more this less noise thing will be your scene, and also it will be more detailed. And this noise threshold also control the amount of noise. The more less this number will be, the more time it will take for your graphic card to render the scene, but the noise will also be very less. Okay, and if you are using optics render engine, suppose if you are using this optics accelerator, you get an AI denoiser. Suppose if I click on this optics and then click on this denoise setting, you can see I get two options. One is open image denoise and one is optics. And optics is AI denoiser. Okay, and optics is really good with Nvidia graphic card. It will work with my graphic card, but it might crash my PC. So I recommend for lower end to use CUDA, but for now I will use optics only. Let's see if it works with recording or not. Once you have decided your resolution, render resolution, your samples and your denoiser, you can just press F12 button on your keyboard to render. And if your scene is not transparent, you can just click on this render setting, go to fill, and here you can find transparent option. Okay, once you have decided everything, just press F12 button. You can see guys, this is the final rendered image of my 3D model. You can see how much detail it looks. You can see the details in here, and you can see how much amazing the 3D model look. The shininess and everything looks amazing. And it took 2 minutes 14 seconds to render this image. So you can see how much fast I have rendered this. And once you have done everything, you can just click on this image and then click on this save, and choose any location where you want to save this. So I will just name it iron iron fist tutorial, and just save this image. Okay, and if your image is not transparent, it might be on RGB. Just make sure change it to RGB alpha. Alpha means transparent channel, and if you don't export the alpha channel, your image will not be transparent. It will export it with black background. Okay, so change it to RGB alpha. Just click on this save as image. Okay, and before rendering, you need to also make sure that in this output, this RGB alpha is selected. If RGB is selected, the transparent thing might not work. The black background will come. Alpha channel, export the alpha channel also. Okay, and here are if you want to export in different format, you can change it from output settings. Okay, so I right now I have exported as PNG, but if you know Photoshop better, you can use OpenEXR also. This is a really high quality of image. I think it exports in 32-bit lossless file, and also export the alpha channel. But if you have good knowledge of Photoshop and have OpenEXR extension and know about color grading and color management, then only export in this format. Otherwise PNG will work better for you. And if you don't have alpha channel and you want low quality image render, you can go for JPEG. Okay, but for PNG will work for everyone. You can change the compression settings, and you can also improve the color bit depth. 8-bit will work for everyone, but if you want more high quality, you can add 16-bit, so that this the gradient thing happening on it. If you have good knowledge of Photoshop, you know the difference between color bit of 8 depth and 16-bit depth. Okay, so for 8-bit, the color depth should be 8-bit and color should be RGB alpha. This will work for most of the people. Okay, so this is how you export in and image and save in your computer. So I hope you liked today's tutorial, and if you want any new tutorial on any some other topic, you can just comment me or send a DM in Discord. I will make a tutorial on that part. So this is how I basically do everything and lighting thing in my 3D models. So thank you guys. Goodbye. See you later. Make sure to make amazing renders and post in my Discord server, or you can post in artworks of other server. Okay. So this is all for today. Okay. See you later.